Welcome back. This is Sandy with Sandy's Organized Chaos, and today we're going to be doing this super easy Mica Swirl tumbler with this tropical peekaboo. As always, I'll make sure to put everything into the description box below so that way you guys can shop those items if you would like to. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and let's wake up, prep these tumblers, and slay all day. Let's do this. We are starting off with our base first. I went ahead and prepped and primed it this Hunt Club green. I also went ahead and stirred up 60 milliliters of epoxy, and I'm going to equally divide that into 3 separate little cups here. So 20 milliliters into each cup. And that will leave me 20 milliliters in my large cup as well. So 3 cups with 20 milliliters of epoxy. And after that's equally divided, we're going to start putting in our additives into our epoxy. This first additive is SOC Sparkle Dust and Dusk. Now this is a ultra fine glitter, so a little bit goes a long ways, but since of how I'm going to be applying it to the tumbler, which you'll see in a second, I went ahead and did 2 little scoops, which I know is a lot if you've used this before, but I really want that sparkle to come through. So I'm going to go ahead and stir that up really well and place that off to the side. Into another cup, I'm going to be adding some mica powder. This one is called Pistachio. So I'm going to add about 2 scoops of this into my little cup there, and I'm going to get that stirred up really well. And again, I'm going to place that off to the side after it's stirred up. And into my last little cup, I'm going to be adding Cash, which is again another mica powder. So I'm going to add 2 little dashes of that into my cup. And after that's all stirred in, we are ready to get started on this swirl. I'm going to get started with the larger cup that would contain the sparkle dust in it, and I'm going to apply all 20 mLs of that mixture all over the tumbler. And once our sparkly base is all applied, I'm going to go ahead and place that onto my turner. I'm going to hit it up with my torch, and this is just going to kind of help settle all that epoxy down, having us a nice smooth surface to apply our swirls to. Now, starting with my lightest mica powder, I'm going to go ahead and start making those stripes across the base of the tumbler here. So I'm pretty much just going top to bottom, just making sure that everything is going in the same exact direction. You know, this is not about being perfect, okay? Because in the end, it's going to swirl and do its own thing. So this is pretty much just you laying your epoxy down and just kind of helping it out, as you can see with like how I'm doing with my stick here, just kind of rubbing it around, but just making sure that it all stays in the same direction, which will give it a very beautiful fluid look after we get that peekaboo applied. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and apply that second coloring that we have as well. Now I want you guys to note that the spacing in between, that's what you want. You want some spaces to be able to provide each one of these colors just a little bit of room, so that way when we start to blow everything around, it kind of melts together and again just adds to that fluid look that we're looking for. Now I'm trying to also remember to apply a little bit of each colorant onto the bottom as well, because I do plan on wrapping my peekaboo completely around the bottom. But if you don't plan on doing that, then you don't have to worry about the bottom at all. Just focus on the main surface here. So at this point, I like the amount of colorant that I have applied, and I'm just going to take my stick and I'm pretty much just going to do this hatching motion with my mica powders, just making sure that everything kind of gets that striation look. I'm just getting that process started for myself. Then after I get that done, I'm going to come through with my fingers and I'm going to start that as well. I'm just going to take a gloved finger and just smudge everything around just a little bit. Again, just kind of helping everything out, so that way it gets nice and fluid for us. I want you to see here, don't be afraid to come through and take off any extra epoxy that might be bulging at the bottom. Sometimes that happens when you're applying large amounts of epoxy onto the tumbler. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take my blow dryer, because I just kind of want everything just to shift just a little bit, not too much, nothing too crazy. I just want everything to kind of melt just a little bit more together. So I'm just going to gently blow this epoxy around just a little bit, again, just to warm it up a bit, just to get it a little bit more fluid for me. And then I'll come back through with my opposite gloved hand one more time, and I'm just going to, again, just kind of help streak everything through one last time, and also removing any excess that might have formed at the top or the bottom. Now again, I don't want to mess around with it too much. I'm just going to kind of help it out here and there. And then after I move everything around just a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and let that cure. Now, after it has cured, if you feel like it needs another coat of epoxy before you do your peekaboo, because sometimes it can be a little ripply because of all the stuff we applied, then go ahead and apply another thin coat of epoxy over top to get it nice and smooth for you for our next process. So let's go ahead and get our decals cut out. So everything you see here, I got right off of Creative Fabrica. The banana leaves, I did 1 by 3.2. And then I have this little fern thing here. It's 2.6 by 3.6, something like that. And then I have these monstera leaves, which is pretty much 3 by 3. And then the Hello Summer decal I have here. I just did it in a 3.52 by 3.4. And I went ahead and did an offset for that at 0.028. There we go. So for my leaves there, I'm just gonna cut it out in whatever vinyl is available that I don't really care about because it's gonna be for a peekaboo. And then the Hello Summer, I'm gonna do in a teal and kind of this kind of matte gold. So I'll make sure to put that stuff into the description box for you guys. Okay, our tumbler is cured and look at that. You know, I'm not a big green person, but I really, really love how these greens go together. So I'm pretty much going to take my larger leaves first. I'm going to start with the largest leaf and make my way back to the smallest leaf. So I'm going to start with these monstera leaves, and I'm pretty much just going to stagger them throughout the tumbler, trying not to put too many because I still want to be able to add the other leaves as well in between. So this is what I have so far. As you can see, there's lots of nice spacing in between to still be able to put the rest of my stuff. And again, I'm just going to come through with those palm fronds, and I'm just going to place them here and there. Now, some of these palm fronds I did kind of overlap up over top of the rim there, and I also made sure that one of them came down below onto the bottom of my tumbler as well. But having those palm fronds are really easy to manipulate. After I took off the transfer tape, I just easily placed each leaf one by one down on the bottom, making sure that everything was nice and snug against the surface of the tumbler so that way no paint seeps up underneath. And when I placed the one up around the rim there, I just again made sure that everything kind of snugly fits up and around the rim so that way again paint doesn't seep underneath. And this is what I have so far. As you can see, all my spacing, I still have again some more room to be able to add those banana leaves in between here and there. So the banana leaves are essentially like a filler because I already knew that I was going to have two big things, and I knew I needed something else a little bit smaller to go in between some nooks and crannies that this bigger stuff just wouldn't fit into, because I wanted it to really make sure that this was nice and filled up with leaves, but I didn't want to overlap anything, not too much. I did overlap some things here and there, but I didn't want to overlap everything too much. But if you want to go ahead and overlap stuff, then go ahead, you know, because there is no right or wrong when it comes to making art. However you think it should look is exactly how it should look. But once you're done putting on as many leaves as you would like, then comes the process of spray painting. And here I am just showing you exactly where I put all my little decals. This is exactly how many I have on here. This is what I did. Now, I really, really love the look of like that rustic pink color by Rustoleum with green. Those two colors, there we go so well together. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take it outside and I'm going to give it 2 coats of this rustic pink. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to bring it back inside. And then comes the magic where you start removing the vinyl, exposing our beautiful swirls underneath, making these leaves really pop and look so real. I absolutely love how this looked. Now, I already knew that I wanted the spray painted surface to stay just basic painted look. I don't want any glitter. I don't want anything over top. So you just want to be very careful when removing your decals so you don't accidentally scratch your surface. But if you do, it's okay to take a Q-tip, a little bit of that spray paint, and just kind of dab the area that you scratched, and it'll fix up those scratches. Now, before I add my decal over top, I'm going to put another thin coating of epoxy over top of this painted surface. The reason why I do that is I don't really like to add vinyls over top of paint. I feel like they start to lift and all that. So I like a nice epoxied surface to apply my decals to, so that way there's no lifting. And once that layer has cured, I'm going to go ahead and clean up my rim. And once I go ahead and trim up my rim a little bit, I'm going to give it a good sanding. I really like how it just really adds just to that sleekness of everything that we're going with. That little bit of silver just peeking through just gives it a chef's kiss. There we go. And once I sand that rim, I'll clean off all the debris with a little bit of rubbing alcohol and a paper towel. Now I went ahead and I already stacked my decal, and I actually got rid of the 2 little dots that are on each side of the word hello. It was just too much. Okay, I didn't feel like doing all that. So I just kept the word hello and then summer underneath. So now is just the crucial part of figuring out where you want to place it onto your tumbler. And I always find this is a great opportunity if you're able to be able to put that decal over an area you just really didn't like. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna go ahead and place it into an area where I felt like the Peekaboo, there could have just been more to it. So there was just a little bit more pink than I wanted with the leaves. So that's where I ended up placing mine. And once I applied my decal, now I'm gonna go ahead and sign the bottom. I always get a lot of questions on how I sign my bottom. I use a Posca marker, and in this instant, this week, I'm using the color Coral. I just buy a kit and with all kinds of different colors. I let that dry, and then what I do to make sure that it doesn't leak everywhere is I'm gonna spritz it with some clear spray before I apply my epoxy. I'll let that clear spray dry. I'll add my last 2 finishing coats of epoxy, and she is good to go. Whether you take this design and duplicate it as is, or you take it and let it inspire you to create something that is completely your own, I hope that you guys had a lot of fun watching this tutorial today. Again, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.